It's me you're after. You wanna...
If you've ever been deep in the world of sci-fi, you probably know Riddick as this dark, unstoppable antihero. But what most people don't realize is that his story almost spilled out beyond the movies in some really unexpected ways. We're talking animation, planned spin-offs, and a universe that could have gone way bigger than anyone imagined. And somewhere in there is Dark Fury, the short animated entry that fans either love or totally forgot. Today, we're diving into the rise, the missed opportunities, and the lasting echoes of the Riddick animated series. Why it existed, why it didn't continue, and why fans still care about it 20 years later. Let's get started. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Franchise origins, an animated entry. So let's rewind to the year 2000. Pitch Black arrives and introduces us to this antihero, Richard B. Riddick. Played by Vin Diesel, he's a dangerous convict on a transport ship and after a crash, lands on a deserted planet where alien creatures emerge. It's survival horror meets sci-fi. When it came out, nobody really knew it was going to kick off a full-on universe, but the movie did better than expected. Not a blockbuster, but solid. And more importantly, people loved Riddick. He wasn't your clean-cut hero. He was violent, sarcastic, but somehow likable, and that anti-hero vibe clicked with fans. So of course, Universal wanted more. But here's the tricky part. They didn't just want a sequel, they wanted a franchise. Books, games, animation, the works. David Toohey, who wrote and directed Pitch Black, started building this whole mythology around Riddick, a universe of mercs, outlaws, and this ancient race called the Necromonkers. That's where Dark Fury slides in. So between Pitch Black and the Chronicles of Riddick, there's this time gap, a stretch of story that wasn't covered in the movies. How did Riddick go from escaping that planet to becoming the hunted fugitive we see at the start of Chronicles? Dark Fury fills that gap. Peter Chung, the same guy behind Aeon Flux, directed, which, if you've ever seen that show, you already know what kind of style to expect. Sharp angles, weird anatomy, super fluid, but kind of unsettling animation. That's Dark Fury in a nutshell. The story picks up right after Pitch Black. Riddick, Jack, and Imam are drifting in place after escaping that planet when a mercenary ship picks them up. And at first you think, oh cool, they're saved. But no, turns out this ship belongs to a collector named Antonia Chillingsworth, who freezes dangerous criminals and displays them as art. Yeah, Riddick's next on her list. What follows is basically 30 minutes of Riddick doing what he does best, outsmarting mercs, fighting in impossible situations, and somehow getting everyone out alive. By the end, he decides to drop off Jack and Imam at New Mecca, and then he goes off alone. That choice directly sets up the Chronicles of Riddick. So if you've ever wondered why he was in hiding at the start of that movie, this is why. Now, Chronicles of Riddick itself expands the universe dramatically. By 2004, Riddick's story isn't just about survival. He becomes entangled with the Necromonk, a fanatical army bent on universal conquest, and we see hints of his mysterious Furian origins. Now here's what's really interesting. Dark Fury wasn't just a random spin-off. It was part of a bigger multimedia experiment Universal was running at the time. You had the Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, a video game that launched alongside the movie, and it's still considered one of the best movie tie-in games ever. It's a prequel to Pitch Black, showing Riddick as a young, cunning convict trapped on the high-security prison planet, Butcher Bay. The prison is a living world with hidden paths, ventilation shafts, and NPC interactions that reveal rival inmates or corrupt guards. Everything encourages clever problem solving, not just brute force. The idea was to make Riddick's universe feel alive across different formats, not just films. Animation in particular gave the creators room to go crazy. Peter Chung could push visuals, make the violence stylized, and show things that'd be way too expensive or impossible to shoot in live action. And even though Dark Fury got mixed reviews, some fans loved it. Ultimately, it did exactly what it needed to do. It bridged the story and fleshed out Riddick's world. It's not essential in the way Pitch Black or Chronicles is, but it connects them emotionally. If you're rewatching the series, slide it in between Pitch Black and Chronicles. It makes the whole arc hit harder. Critical reception and fandom response. Okay, so here's the thing about the Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. It's one of those weird in-between projects that fans either kind of love for what it tries to do or just shrug off completely. But the question is, did it actually work for fans and critics? Was it worth making? Let's break it down. So first off, the critical side wasn't too kind. There's a review from Asteroid G, and they don't hold back at all. They basically called Dark Fury a 35-minute yawnathon. Ouch. The main complaint? That it feels like a half-baked episode from a show that never existed. The review reviewer says it looks and moves like a pilot for an animated Riddick series. Except, well, the series never happened, and honestly, you can kinda see their point. It's directed by Peter Chung, which means it's heavy on the weird, angular animation, and moody visuals. But story-wise, Dark Fury doesn't dig very deep. It picks up right after Pitch Black and sets up Riddick's escape from the mercenary ship. But beyond that, there's not a ton of emotional weight. The critics also mention that the pacing is off, like it never quite builds tension the way Pitch Black did. The action's fine, but the story feels stretched thin, and when it's over, you're left wondering if anything really changed for Riddick or the other characters. So yeah, critically, it didn't make much noise. It wasn't hated the way the Chronicles of Riddick was by some reviewers later on, but it also wasn't praised. Most outlets just kinda ignored it. Straight-to-DVD animation in 2004 didn't get a lot of love anyway. Now, on the fan side, things are a little different. If you scroll through Reddit, especially threads on r/Riddick, you'll find that people do remember Dark Fury. A lot of fans describe it as cool, but unnecessary. They like that it connects the two live-action movies, and some even say the animation fits Riddick's violent, edgy tone. One top comment said something like, "It's not amazing, but it helps fill in the gap, and it's stylish as hell," which sums up a lot of the fandom's vibe. Another user pointed out that the movie actually deepens Jack's character. You see her admiration for Riddick turn into something darker, so for people who care about continuity, it matters. But even among fans, there's this sense that Dark Fury could have been so much more. Several people mentioned that it felt like a missed opportunity, like the setup for a full-blown animated Riddick series that never got made. And they're not wrong. According to that Asteroid G piece, Universal was kind of testing the waters with this short. If fans went crazy for it, there might have been more. But the reaction was just muted. If you're a diehard fan, you watch it because it connects the dots. But if you're not, you might never even realize you missed anything. Franchise expansion, planned, shelved, and forgotten. When people talk about the Riddick movies, they usually stick to the big three: Pitch Black, The Chronicles of Riddick, and Riddick from 2013. But what most folks don't realize is that there were way bigger plans behind the scenes, like full-on world building, animated shows, spin-offs, a whole trilogy roadmap. And yeah, most of it got shelved. When Pitch Black hit in 2000, it was kind of a sleeper success. Small budget, tight story, and this breakout antihero, Richard B. Riddick, who everyone suddenly wanted more of. So Universal looked at that and went all let's make our own sci-fi universe out of it. And David Toohey, the writer-director, along with Vin Diesel, started talking about something much bigger. The goal was never just a sequel. It was a planned trilogy that would track Riddick from this small, grounded survival story into a full-blown space epic uncovering his origins, his planet, Furia, and this dark mythology with the Necromongers and the Underverse. Basically, they were shooting for a sci-fi mythos that could rival Star Wars or Doom, but darker. So, then The Chronicles of Riddick comes out in 2004, and it was made to be bigger, louder, and way more ambitious. The idea was that this would be part 2 of that trilogy, and if that movie exploded at the box office, Universal would greenlight not just the third film, but possibly an animated series and a larger cross-media push. So the Dark Fury was supposed to be the first test run, except that didn't quite go to plan. Chronicles made money, but not enough. The budget was huge, over $100 million, and while it did okay international, it underperformed in the US. And that right there is where things started to wobble. Universal got nervous, and of course, big studios hate middle ground numbers. Now, a few years later, Vin Diesel kind of wrestled the rights back. There's this story, and it's true, that he traded his cameo in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift for the Riddick rights, which is wild. That gave him and David Toohey the freedom to keep making Riddick stuff without waiting for a studio to bless it. And that's when you start hearing about Riddick Furia, the fourth film, and Merc City, a planned TV series set in the same universe, but focused on bounty hunters and mercs instead of Riddick himself. Diesel even announced Merc City on Instagram around 2015, but like so many Riddick projects, just kind of faded out, never officially canceled, but also never greenlit. A lot of that came down to Universal's lack of confidence after Chronicle. Plus, the whole DVD market, which used to keep movies like this alive, pretty much collapsed by the 2010s. So that steady stream of direct-to-DVD profit dried up. The math just didn't work anymore for expensive side projects like animated series. Basically, Universal stopped investing because the returns weren't there. And without that big studio push, it's just Vin Diesel and David Toohey keeping the fire going. They've been saying for years that Riddick Furia is still in development, and apparently, a script has been done for a while. Whether it actually happens, hard to say. Why the Riddick animated series never continued. People always assumed Dark Fury was a one-off, like some quick filler between the first two movies. But no, there was actually a bit of a plan there. Not a massive, but enough that if things had gone right, we could have seen Riddick slicing his way through space every week in an animated series. So, what happened? Well, it wasn't one single disaster, but more like a pileup. Pitch Black had this cult buzz. Yeah, but Chronicles of Riddick didn't hit the way Universal thought it was. Easy to forget now, but they spent a fortune trying to turn Riddick into a big cinematic universe. The movie didn't exact tank, but it didn't soar either, and studios don't gamble on spin-offs when the main act doesn't bring home the cash. At the same time, Dark Fury, the animated short, wasn't cheap. It had serious talent behind it. Peter Chung's style was wild, stylized, abstract, violent, and totally not what your average early 2000s home video buyer expected from an action tie-in. Some execs loved it, others not so much. Now behind closed doors, Universal had actually been toying with the idea of a small animated continuation. Not necessarily a full-blown series like Clone Wars, but something episodic, maybe direct-to-video. Diesel was into it as well, but timing was a major issue. Chronicles of Riddick underperformed. DVD sales were solid but not spectacular. The studio started pulling back on the sci-fi universe plans. It wasn't officially canceled because it never really got that far, but the people involved have said it quietly died once Universal realized the returns weren't there. They'd already spent north of $100 million on the main film. No one wanted to throw more money at animation when the franchise itself was cooling off. Then there's the creative side. Riddick is an odd character for animation. He's brutal, philosophical, and morally gray. You can't water that down without losing what makes him interesting, and Dark Fury proved that. It leaned into his darkness, his quiet menace, his survival instincts, but that tone just didn't fit the studio's expanded universe dream. It was too grim, too niche. Meanwhile, Diesel's own focus shifted. Fast and Furious exploded again, and that basically became his empire. When he came back to Riddick in 2013, it was through his own money and a smaller team. The animated idea, long gone. The industry had changed. The audience had drifted, and Universal had moved on to safer bets. So the timing, money, and tone all worked against it. Legacy and current state of Riddick universe. Finally, let's talk about where Riddick stands right now. And we don't mean just the movies. We're talking about the whole universe, the little corners of it that fans still whisper about. First off, Dark Fury. Even though it came out, 20 years ago now, fans still talk about it. Not because it's super popular, but because it has this weird, lasting charm. It's stylish, short, and a little messy, like intentionally so. And that's why it sticks in the mind of hardcore fans. People call it the hidden gem of Riddick canon. Now, fast forward to today. Vin Diesel is still keeping Riddick alive, like we mentioned earlier. There's this TV spinoff called Merc City that's been teased for years. He's talked about it in interviews, social media, all that. From what we know, it won't focus on Riddick direct. Instead, it's about the universe around him, the Mercs, bounty hunter, the kind of morally gray side characters the franchise loves. And honestly, that's kind of perfect. The world is rich enough now that you don't need Riddick front and center for every story. Then there's Riddick Furia, which is actually moving forward in production. This one's exciting because it finally brings the story back to Riddick's roots. Furia is his home planet, and the new film is meant to explore that in a way we haven't seen before. Shooting has started across Europe, and Diesel and David Toohey are steering it. What's interesting is that, from what we've heard, the new movie could touch on the same threads Dark Fury explored. So in a sense, the animated story's DNA is still floating around. The Riddick franchise has always been this weird mix of cult and mainstream. Doesn't dominate box office headlines, but it survives. And that survival is partly why Diesel keeps nudging the universe forward. There's still fan fiction, fan art, and some people even doing webcomic-style Riddick stories, inspired by Dark Fury, even at conventions. Riddick has this quiet presence. He pops up at Comic-Con panels, in cosplay, in small fan meetups, or even in Q&A segments with Diesel. Fans ask about Dark Fury or the proposed animated series all the time. You can tell the creators notice, too. Marvelous verdict. So where does all this leave us? Dark Fury might have launched a full animated series, and a lot of the big plans got shelved, but its impact lingers. It bridged the films, gave hardcore fans something to obsess over, and left the spark that's still alive in fan fiction, art, cosplay, and conversations at Comic-Con. And now, with Merc City teasing the bounty hunter side of the universe, and Riddick Furia finally moving forward, that spark could turn into something bigger. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.